The Classic TV channel is your happy trails to golden oldies television from the 1940s through the formative years of the 1950s and 60s. Enjoy restored TV shows Mickey Rooney Show, Groucho Marx, Trouble with Father, Terry and the Pirates, One Step Beyond, Beverly Hillbillies, Bonanza, The Lucy Show, Dick Van Dyke, Annie Oakley, Ozzie and Harriet, The Howdy Doody Show, and many, many more. Binge your night away. So return with us now to those golden days of yesteryear.
I realized the trip was definitely over. Her name was Jean Arnold. She was a dancer, a member of the famous Henri Felix dance team, interpreters of the modern dance. Henri Felix was the real star of the show, a rather conceited man who seemed a little impatient with me because I took up so much of Jean's time. The third member of the company was Frankie Ludwig, the wardrobe woman and general flunky. She was an ex-wrestler, and according to her, she had held many European titles. Though I had become quite friendly with Jean Arnold, I knew the others only slightly. They very seldom came out of their staterooms, and I would see them only occasionally in the dining room.
Taxi, mister?
Sure.
I'll be waiting out front.
It was the first time I was ever hustled by a cabbie before I even stepped out on the street. I learned later that the little cabbie's name was Sam. If I'd known what Sam was going to lead me into, I might have gone back to Hong Kong. I've got a taxi outside.
I should wait for Henri.
They can follow.
I'm going ahead with Mike. I'll meet you at the hotel.
Rehearsal at 2 at the auditorium.
I'll be there. See you at the hotel.
Only 1 hour for lunch. You be there at 2.
Wilton Hotel. Get out. Hey, what is this?
Don't move, Mr. Lanyard.
Where are we?
The cinch went up at the Wilton Hotel.
Oh, no, Mr. Lanyard. This is not a holdup.
Excellent work, Sam. Really excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Bracken. That's really a compliment coming from you.
Thank you, Sam. And I mean it. I'm really proud of you.
When you stop slapping each other on the back, would you tell me what this is all about?
I'll come right to the point, Mr. Lanyard and Miss Arnold. We want the jewels.
The jewels. Hand them over.
I'll do the talking, Sam.
What jewels?
$100,000 worth of rough-cut rubies were purchased in Hong Kong. One of you is carrying them. One of you has been able to outwit the customs officials. Or perhaps you both are working together.
Look, I don't know anything about any jewels. May I go, please?
Hold up your hands, Lanyard. Search them, Sam.
Nothing.
Perhaps we can negotiate.
I'm afraid you've been following the wrong pigeon. About the only thing you can hijack from me is some greenbacks.
That's your final answer?
I'm afraid so.
You'll regret this, Mr. Lanyard. Where'd you borrow the taxi?
I'd rather not say.
I understand. Leave it here. This is merely the beginning, Mr. Lanyard. You'll be hearing from us soon.
If I hadn't been here, I wouldn't have believed it.
Now I know why you've been so evasive about yourself. I'll manage alone.
What about your luggage? We might as well take the taxi to the hotel.
Well, I suppose I have no choice.
You don't think I had anything to do with those jewels, do you?
I really don't know what to think.
Smuggling jewels is not my business.
What is your business?
It'd be much easier to tell you what isn't. drove to the Wilton Hotel. I couldn't be sure myself of what was going on. The incident was too ridiculous. I tried to explain to Jean that these two men who had accused us of smuggling were complete strangers to me. I even suggested that we laugh and forget all about it. She couldn't see it. I guess she figured that because she wasn't involved, I must be. Jean, wait a minute.
I can manage by myself now, thank you.
The show ended about 11 o'clock. I hurried backstage. I wanted to see Jean Arnold again. Maybe she was holding out. Maybe she called the police to cover for herself. I didn't know any of the answers yet, but I intended to get all of them. I don't like the police on my back.
What do you want?
I want to talk to you.
I don't think there's anything to talk about.
No? I think there is.
Look, let me make myself clear. I'm starting on a world tour. It's very important to me. I can't afford any bad publicity.
Maybe that's why I'm here.
Look, you're very nice and I like you very much, but at the moment I have no intention of committing suicide.
I told you, I don't smuggle jewels.
That's your business. What you do, I mean. Just leave me alone.
How long have you known Henri Felix?
6 years. Why?
If I said it was only curiosity, I'd be lying.
I do not understand you. But I do not like your spending so much time with Jean.
We let her decide, huh?
She has decided. She asked you to leave.
Please go.
Maybe I'd better call the police.
Somehow I get the impression I'm not welcome here.
We do not want any scene, Mr. Lanyard. We do not want our pictures on the front pages. We have worked very hard. And this is my first trip to America. Do not embarrass us any further.
Look, someone's put a noose around my neck. I'd like to take it off.
I do not understand you.
Let me throw him out.
Stay where you are. You talk in riddles.
Yeah? Okay. As far as I was concerned, it was a jigsaw puzzle, and I couldn't put the pieces together. I went back to my hotel. I'd made the first move. Now I could sit back and see if anyone would counter-move.
We didn't expect you back so soon.
Oh, did you enjoy the concert?
Huh?
The concert.
Oh, yes, excellent.
How nice.
We couldn't go. We had work to do.
So I see. Did you find anything?
Not a sou. Really, Mr. Lanyard, you're quite clever. Frankly, we're ready to give up.
Sit down. Make yourself at home.
Thanks.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
You don't want me to commit homicide, do you?
We object to violence, if that's what you mean.
I'll give you 5 minutes to put everything back where you found it.
Yes, sir.
No, Sam. The shirts go in the top dresser.
That goes for you, too, Mr. Bracken. Get going.
Of course, of course.
Go on, get going. Come in, Lieutenant. playing games. Know any? Well, you know Mr. Bracken and Sam.
We met.
Yeah, nice to see you, Lieutenant.
Can I get you anything, a drink or something?
What are you doing, taking inventory?
No, tomorrow's laundry day.
They friends of yours?
Look, Lieutenant, I asked you before and I ask you again. What do you want with me?
You know Jean Arnold pretty well, don't you?
So what?
When did you first meet her?
On the boat coming from Hong Kong?
Did you know her before then?
No.
How about Henri Felix?
I hardly know him now.
I checked. There was an important jewel robbery in Hong Kong about a month ago. The rubies were worth $100,000.
A tidy sum.
Where did you meet those two?
We shared a cab this morning.
I can vouch for that.
Correct.
I have a warrant to search your room, Lanyard.
You won't find anything.
He's an authority on the subject.
I'm not going to search it. I just want you to know I've got a warrant. See you later.
I'm proud of you, Mr.
Coming from
Lanyard.
the
You
boss,
really
Mr.
handled
Lanyard,
him
that's
beautifully.
quite a compliment.
I know,
We
you
make a
was
wonderful
worked
team,
on
the
a
three of
plan.
us, a wonderful team.
I've been in storms. I've had a shotgun staring me down the throat. But never before had I ever been surrounded by so many madmen. If it hadn't been for diggers, I would have thought the whole thing was a gag. If Henri Felix was smuggling stolen jewels, he had a way of doing it that was unique and, so far, very effective. I decided to start with the obvious. What better place would there be to hide jewels than in the costumes the dancers wore? I headed back to the auditorium and the wardrobe room. I opened the door. To my surprise, I saw Frankie. The couch had been made up into a bed, and it was clear she was going to spend the night there. I could have sworn that I saw Frankie check into the Wilton Hotel. If she was sleeping here, it was for a purpose. I was right. Frankie did have a room at the Wilton. Maybe the wardrobe at the auditorium was the right answer. Suddenly I heard footsteps. Bracken and Sam must have seen me after all. I didn't want to see them again. I'd seen enough of them for one day. Who is it?
It's Jean. I've got to talk to you.
What do you want to talk to me about?
Well, can't we go in your room? You know, we shouldn't be seen together.
Sure. Can I get you something?
I'm so mixed up, I don't know what I'm doing.
I can't see why. It's been a normal day.
If I could only trust you.
If you could. Then what?
I've been at the police station all morning. Felix was there, too, and Frankie asked us a million questions.
Oh, how did you do?
Well, they asked Felix if he's gotten off the ship in Hong Kong. He said no, he hadn't left the ship. I knew he lied. He did get off in Hong Kong.
Meaning what?
This isn't the first time we've been questioned about bringing jewels into a country illegally. And this morning when I was in the police station, I suddenly realized that maybe I was wrong about Felix.
Does he know that you suspect him?
No.
What about Frankie? You think she's involved too?
I don't know. Wish I knew what to do.
Does she always sleep in the wardrobe room?
She has a room in the hotel.
Have you any idea how the stones get into the country?
No.
What about that jeweled hat you wear in the finale?
It's only colored glass.
You've a rehearsal tomorrow afternoon, haven't you?
Yes.
I'll be waiting in the dining room. I want you to bring that hat to me.
If the hat was covered with rubies, I'm sure they wouldn't be there now.
I want to look at the stitches. See if the stones have been replaced.
What'll that prove?
It'll prove how the jewels got into the country. I want to be sure. Is it really Felix? Or someone else?
You don't trust me anymore.
You're right. I don't.
Rehearsal's at 2 tomorrow. Be through by 3. I'll meet you then with the hat.
I won't count on you, but I'll be there. Maybe she was telling the truth, maybe she wasn't. If she was telling me the truth, I could use her. With the police breathing down their necks and Bracken and Sam trying to cut in, they'd have to do something soon. I just wanted to be on the spot when it happened. It was 3:30. She was supposed to be here at 3, and there could have been a lot of reasons why she didn't keep the appointment. Whatever it was, I intended to find out. I headed back to the dressing rooms of the auditorium. Jean's dressing room was empty, so I decided to check the wardrobe room. The trunks and the costumes were gone. I hurried back to the hotel and talked to the clerk. He said that Henri, Jean, and the others had arrived about 50 minutes before and gone up to their rooms. I went right up to Jean's room. But there was no answer. I used a skeleton key. I looked into the room. It was as empty as her dressing room. Felix had the room next door. I didn't expect to find him there. It looked as though all 3 of them had taken off, but I decided to double check. I'm glad I did, because he was there. Only he was dead. At the moment, finding Jean was my problem. My only hope right now was Bracken and Sam.
Come in.
I knew you'd come to us.
Well, glad to see that you finally seen the light, Mr.
33
Lanyard.
and a third. That's how we're going to split it
33
up.
and a
Yes,
third
sir. You're a
percent.
full partner.
Wait a minute. Where's Jean Arnold?
Forget her.
I know you've been tailing everybody night and day, including Jean. Did you see her leave the hotel?
Yeah, but she's not important.
Do you know where she went?
Sure. She's not important.
Felix is our man. That's the man we got to watch.
Where did she go?
Forget about the girl, Mr. Lanyard. It's Felix we got to watch. Night and day.
If you don't tell me where she went, I'll break every bone in your body.
Really, Mr. Lanyard, you're being quite a bore. The girl's a red herring.
Well, about 10 minutes ago, she got into a taxi. I double-checked and discovered she'd gone to the Bay Harbor.
Can she take a boat from there?
Well, she might be able to hire a private boat to take her to San Diego, but you're chasing the wrong one. Felix is our man.
Felix has been murdered. Where is it?
Here, you hold this girl.
Uncle? Okay, Lanyard, you win. Didn't I say 33 1/3? We'll split the reward 3 ways.
Reward?
They were stolen rubies. A huge reward from the insurance company for anyone who recovers the jewel.
We're not hijackers. We're not even fences. We're private detectives.
We're international, of course.
Of course.
I'll take that. The reward.
Yeah, we trust you, Lieutenant.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, Lieutenant. Is this on the level?
I'm afraid it is. I just had a rundown on the boat. At the top of it all, they write pulp stories on the side.
What about Jean?
Jean and Felix were partners. Jean decided to double-cross Felix and make you the patsy.
Nice girl.
Oh, and we picked up that wardrobe woman, too. That wasn't easy. But she talked good and loud.
We want to talk to you, Lanyard.
It's a great opportunity.
Oh, some other time. I've got 20 minutes to catch a play.
Oh, where are we going?
But you don't understand. We're a team. This is the perfect marriage. We'd work together like peas in a pod. We're partners.
Well, I'm very flattered, and I thank you. I'll call you. Don't call me.
Oh, you can't leave us now.
Not after we've gone to the expense of printing our new business cards.
Cards. Very nice. Several hundred miles to spend a holiday week with 2 old friends of mine, Jarveau and Jarvette. They do a clown act with a small traveling tent show, and the show always headquarters on the grounds of a large amusement park. This time it was no different. And I saw Jarveau. He'd been doing the same thing a year ago when I left him. It was good to see him again, and from his greeting I knew he felt the same way. I thought about Jarveau and how carefully he watched over little Jarvette. I thought about how Jarvette had lost his speech and how these 2 wonderful people had to talk in silence. We talked of many things, and I told him I could stay for a week. I asked about Jarvette, and Jarveau played it big. He pretended he was angry with him. He complained about Jarvette's special talent for picking up things that didn't belong to him, but he never stopped smiling. He showed me where Jarvette was, and I watched the quiet one enjoying himself. And I saw something else and said, up to his old tricks.
Worse than ever. The show understands, though. Each night I make the rounds, return into trinkets, and the next day picks up more.
Jarvette, mon petit ami.
Yes, I'm staying.
Not so bad today. I recognize these things. Madame Fifi's comb, a small one for the fat woman. Teresa St. Christopher, she and her father ran the Punch and Judy. These cards from the privileged tent.
What about the key?
An old one that the boss keeps for Jarvet to steal. Yes, I recognize everything. Everything but this.
What is it? Frank Gibson, investigator. Federal Insurance Company. I didn't want to alarm Jarvo, but I felt that Frank Gibson could mean trouble.
The man he bumped did not like it.
He'll like it even less when he finds out what he's lost. I changed my clothes and headed for Frank Gibson's tent. I wanted to return his identification card, and there was another reason. I was curious as to why an insurance investigator was working for this small carnival as a prop man.
You waiting for me?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Michael Lanyard.
That's a familiar name.
I'm not surprised.
What does that mean?
You must hear a lot of names in your business.
Where'd you get this?
What difference does it make? You got it back?
Not so fast. Maybe it's a little bit more important than that.
Look, I came here to return it, not to get into an argument.
Wait a minute. What's a guy like you doing hanging around a 10-cent carnival?
That question works both ways. I'm staying with a couple of old friends, Jarvo and Jarvet. I won't ask why you're here.
Jarvo the pickpocket. I got a good mind to call the police.
He's not a pickpocket, and he didn't mean any harm. If you don't want people to know who you really are, why don't you get smart and hide that card someplace? If Jarvo could talk, he'd apologize. I'm doing it for him.
Lanyard.
Yeah?
I'm sorry, I guess I sounded like a kid. When I realized my identification card was gone, I got sick. I've been traveling with this show for over a month now. If my identity were known, it would undo everything.
Forget it. Jarvo can't talk. You're on your own.
Maybe. I'll have to think about it. If I come up with the right answer, perhaps I'll give you a call.
Not me. I'm on vacation.
You got anything against money?
Money? No, nothing. Unless it interferes with my plans. See you around, Gibson.
That's for sure.
The next day I headed down the Midway, and I heard someone who sounded friendly.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You weren't passing by, were you?
I was. But I can see now it would have been a mistake.
Like to play?
Might be interesting.
3 balls for 25 cents. Knock any one of those piles of milk bottles off the stand and win yourself a Ruby doll.
That's hard to do.
Sometimes, unless you have a hop on your fast one.
Or can throw a curve.
Any way at all. Use your best shot.
Maybe I'm a cynic, but to me Ruby seemed too friendly. So I played it like a guy who couldn't get himself arrested. No, thanks. If I throw any more, my arm will go up with the ball.
Morning, Frank.
Hi, Ruby.
Give the gentleman a prize.
A man who can't hit 3 bottles at that range doesn't deserve a doll.
Maybe you weren't using that curve you talked about.
Maybe you were. Goodbye.
I'll go with you. Bye, Ruby.
Bye, Frank. Goodbye, Michael Lanyard.
Ruby must do all right.
Ruby? She does better than all right. Anyway, better when she and her husband used to do the Iron Jaw act on the Forbes show.
Are you a carnival man or an insurance investigator?
That's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Oh.
Got to step into my office?
Sure.
First of all, I want to thank you for the way you handled that card of mine. Could have been embarrassing.
You were going to tell me what you're doing here.
I wasn't sure till you arrived.
I'm on vacation. Jarvo and Jarvet are old friends of mine. I visit them every year.
Let's stop clowning, Lanyard. I should have waited for the contact, but you made me, so I can't. So let's talk a deal.
All right.
Let's talk a deal.
25%, no questions.
That would amount to how much?
25 grand.
You're talking about $100,000?
I'm talking about the score made in the Buffalo armored car holdup about 8 months ago.
You mean that money's here?
Like I said, I wasn't sure till you arrived.
What were you doing until I arrived?
Waiting for a break.
You sure it's here?
That's the way we got it figured. My company's already paid off the full amount to the insured armored car people. They'd be very happy to get back 75 grand.
Uh-huh.
What do you say?
I'll think about it.
Do that. Let me know what you decide. The offer's only good overnight.
I considered what Gibson had told me. An armored car robbery, $100,000. I had to think it out. For me, it didn't quite make sense. Why would anyone heist $100,000 and hide it in a small carnival? And if they were here, where could they keep that much money? I had the feeling that maybe Frank Gibson hadn't told me the truth, and that interested me, because I don't like being thought a fool or being lied to. Jarvo had told me that Jarvette spent many hours each day with Teresa and her father. They were teaching him about Punch and Judy. I decided to introduce myself to them. Hello there. I'm Michael Lanyard.
Hello, Mr. Lanyard. Jarvo told me about you, and Jarvette in his way talks about nothing else.
Oh. You must be the Teresa of the St. Christopher medal, huh?
Yes, and this is my father.
Mr. Lanyard.
How are you? I enjoyed your show.
Most everyone does, Mr. Lanyard. There seems to be a fundamental satisfaction in watching Punch do what most of us would like to do at a time or another. Fly into a violent rage and beat everybody over the head with a club.
Don't get Papa started. He'll go into the psychological significance of Punch and Judy, and you'll be here all day.
That's all right. I have nothing to do.
But Papa has. He must sleep. Doctor's orders. Rest between each performance. Excuse us.
Of course.
This also is a time when I envy Punch. The years take no toll of him. Perhaps later, Mr. Lanyard.
Goodbye. They were nice people, but I hadn't been able to forget Frank Gibson. And I saw Frank and Ruby. I started guessing again. But there's no law that prevents a man from kissing his girl. Only I couldn't help wondering if she was his girl, or was she his partner?
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Jarvo and Jarvette.
My original plan was to spend a week with two friends, and nothing was going to get in my way. I'd made up my mind to tell Frank Gibson I was no longer interested in his proposition, nor was I interested in whatever game he and Ruby were playing. And I was going to add that I thought he was a big phony. I began to watch Jarvo and Jarvette do their act again, but something was wrong. There were no laughs. Jarvette had substituted the bottle of milk with a wooden one from Ruby's stand. The act had died, and Jarvo seemed unhappy, but it would be forgotten because tonight was Jarvette's birthday, and Jarvo had prepared a surprise party for him. He had been so careful, I doubt he knew I had found out.
Jarvette, please. It is the nipple and the nursing that bring the laugh. You cannot nurse on a wooden bottle. Go, take it back to Ruby and put it where it belongs. Go, go. We will see you in the tent later. Here's a problem, that one. Come, I have a surprise for you.
The cake had 3 candles. Jarvo told me they were for love, devotion, and friendship. He told me that Jarvette was like a little boy. But he'd never forgotten that night in France when the Gestapo in their anger had torn the tongue from Jarvet's head. Then he realized it was late, and that Jarvet hadn't returned. I told him not to worry, that I'd go and look for him. It was 3 hours later. I hadn't been able to find Jarvet. Jarvet had asked the other carnival people to look for Jarvet. He kept telling me he blamed himself because he'd hurt Jarvet's feelings. I told him he was wrong, that Jarvet had probably gone into town, that he'd return in a little while. And then Frank Gibson came in, and before he opened his mouth, I knew something was terribly wrong.
You better come with me. You too, Lanyard.
Gibson took us to the main tent, and then we saw him. Jarvet was dead. As I looked, I started to burn. I wanted to do anything that could change what had happened, but that was impossible. I told Gibson to call the sheriff. The coroner's verdict was accidental death, but I had a hunch that it was murder.
What'd they decide?
An accident. Jarvis said the little fellow was always climbing around up there. Must have got twisted up in a rope and lost his footing.
Too bad.
Yeah. Well, he was on his way over to see you after the performance. Did he make it?
Brought one of the bottles back. I saw him come in, got busy with a customer. Then when I had a chance to look again, Jarvet was gone.
I guess I was the next one to see him, Lanyard. Hello, Ruby.
Hello, Frank. How's your head?
Be all right.
What happened to you?
Scouting around the lot last night, I thought I saw someone headed over toward the ring. I took out after him, but I lost him when I got clumped. You want to feel the lump? Easy. But not like a light. When I came to, I found Jarvet and went to get you and Jarvo.
What did you think you saw?
I don't know for sure.
Was big, little, man, a woman?
No, it was a man, I think. At least it wore pants. There's something funny about the guy, something unusual. He was bent over and...
Like he might have been carrying something heavy on his back?
Yeah. Like he might have been carrying something heavy on his back. By the way, that deal I offered you's off. That sock on the head ended it.
You might be wrong, Mr. Gibson. The sock on the head might have started it. Thanks for telling me. I started by making a telephone call to the company that employed Frank Gibson. What I learned surprised me. I owed Gibson an apology. He was on the level. He'd worked for them for over 10 years. He was one of their top men. I said thanks. I made a second call to a friend of mine, an actor's agent. I described Ruby and told him she once did an iron jaw act with her husband. I told him to level with me. He did. And when he finished, I knew enough about Ruby to know it was time to have a serious conversation with her about two things. $100,000 and maybe murder.
Mr. Lanyard. Look at Punch.
That's the dummy milk bottle. Jarvet was going to take this back to Ruby. She said he did.
It was under Punch's costume when I opened up this morning.
Oh.
Money.
Yeah. Do me a favor. Call the sheriff. And don't mention this to anybody on the lot. Now I had all my answers. Ruby had very cleverly concealed the money in hollow milk bottles. By accident, Jarvet must have discovered it. And to protect herself, she'd murdered him. From the looks of her stand, Ruby had left in a hurry. Every bottle was empty. And then I found the satchel loaded with money. That meant she hadn't got away.
Put it down. Now back away from it. You found the other bottle.
After I talked to Buffalo. Two people pulled that armored car stick up. One of them could have been a woman. You, her, and your husband.
My former husband. He was killed cleaning a gun 2 weeks later.
Convenient.
Yeah. He left me with $100,000 and hot money that I had to hide till it cooled off.
You hit it.
Let's make it short and sweet, Lanyard. 50-50. We'll leave here together, drive into town, catch a plane for nowhere, and watch the world go by.
Well, that's the best offer I've had. There's only one thing wrong with it.
What's that?
Jarvette. You killed him. It was you Gibson saw carrying something to the main ring. It was you who hit Gibson over the head.
What are you talking about, Lanyard?
I'm talking about Jarvette. Ruby killed him.
He's crazy, Frank. Look what he did to the joint.
I wondered why Gibson didn't grab our gun. I guess he was too surprised to think straight.
You trying to tell me she carried him up on a platform and dropped him with a rope around his neck?
Sure. High places don't bother Ruby. Remember? Ritter and Romaine? The Iron Jaw Act you told me about? She could carry you up there, or me.
It's an idea.
Why should she kill Jarvette?
Because he stumbled onto the $100,000 you're looking for.
While you two dream up the rest of it, I'll be on my way.
Why are you leaving, Ruby?
Business. I'll get in touch with you, Frank. But if you want that 100,000, stay here and put the pressure on Lanyard.
If you want that 100,000, better look in the case she's carrying.
There's nothing in here that isn't personal to me.
Of course. There's something awfully personal about that much money.
What do you say, Ruby?
If you touch this case, it's all off between us. If you can't trust me now...
Ruby, it's just a...
Go get her, Lanyard. She's got you 25 grand.
I knew Ruby couldn't get away. I've seen some rotten dames in my life, and she belonged at the head of the class. She hadn't hesitated a second when she shot Gibson. I got angry again. I thought about how cool she must have been when she murdered Jarvette, and she headed for the roller coaster. She'd walked into her own trap. The shot and saw her fall. When I looked down at her broken body, I didn't feel sorry. I figured Gibson had just saved the state a lot of money, and that Jarvet's death in a small way had been paid off.
The world continue in New York. You will be here day after tomorrow. Until then, I do not know.
I've seen the act many times, Jarvo. I think I know the routine.
Michael, will you do it?
I'd like to, if you'll let me.
Michel, mon ami.